and emergency response units. And also they changed the regulation to better track people with viruses. And also they allow testing kits to come out more easily. So they shortened the process of giving license to the companies producing, test kits. So this time when the COVID-19 came, the government was able to quickly move and fast track the process so that the companies came up with the test kits very quickly in a matter of just a few weeks. And we were able to test, in very large numbers. So that was the experience we had. And having enough facilities in terms of beds, for example, we have 12 beds per 1,000 people, I think, which is one of the highest. But because of these trial and errors and the environment that we are in, that we are able to respond effectively. And I think what was the key was those things and the need to move quickly. And that was the reason why we were able to manage despite not having the lockdown.
And I believe there's a bit of a technical issue, but I'm going to carry on anyway because I can't see who is or isn't connected. Martin, from that example of how to deal with the coronavirus outbreak, we obviously took a very early decision to go into a hard lockdown. There was initial buy-in, I think, for the first 3 weeks. That started to wane around the extension at week 3 for another 2 weeks. And now the debate has become extremely polarized. It's almost as if it's this whole lives versus livelihoods issue. Where do you see South Africa in terms of its response to COVID-19? Where could we be improving, and what should we be doing now as we see the economic costs are massive, with employment between 3 to 7 million jobs being lost according to National Treasury, and economic contraction up to about 10%, depending on which economist you chat to this year?
Yeah, I think it's thanks, Michael. I'm not sure I'm qualified to talk on this. It's just a very maybe uninformed view. Is that I think clearly we're learning through trial and error here, and that applies to every country. Nobody has there's no secret sauce here when it comes to managing this COVID outbreak. I think, as you say, it's a very polarized discussion around lives, perceived to be lives versus livelihood. But in the developing world, I don't think we haven't got the fiscal space or fiscal luxury to be able to manage this in a way that many advanced countries can, including South Korea. But South Korea also, like many other Asian countries, I mean, patient zero clearly was China or certain parts of China. And the second wave was Southern Europe. The third wave is sort of Northern Europe, UK, US. And now the fourth wave is the global South. That's Latin America. It's us. And my concern going forward is how do we manage a so-called W-shaped
attendees? Yes.
I had to hit the panic button to see if we could reboot the room. Technical issues. Thank you for bearing with us. I hope you didn't miss too much of that. And we're just waiting for Martin Davies to rejoin us. So, Ambassador Park, perhaps I can leave the final word to you. A lot of the comments as well so far in the chat room have dealt with the issue of labor. And if you could just share some insights on how industrial relations are handled in South Korea. Is it a highly unionized environment? And it's obviously a big issue here in South Africa, where we have extremely hostile industrial relations.
Okay, so in Korea, we also face the same common issues of business-labor relationship. And as I told you, Korea went through the process of economic social transformation. And as we democratize and got more prosperous, of course, the rights of workers comes up. And still, there's an issue from time to time with the labor unions and businesses and it's a strong labor union rehab. But I think both sides have learned in the process that they have to work together. And while there's a problem from time to time, but I think that's the natural process, and move on. So it's important that the businesses have a system to meet the requirement demands of the workers, and they have increasing demands as the society economy moves on. They have higher expectations from the companies, and also the companies, they have also their needs in terms of having the quality productive workers to survive. So that is very much understandable, and it is how the companies do that beforehand, before it all becomes a problem, and make it very transparent, and the labor unions will understand and come on board. And I think we see a good case in northern countries where they think they are in this together, so they share the interests and concerns. That's why they were able to maintain a harmonious relationship with companies.
Well, Dr. Park, thank you very much. I'm going to leave it there because of the technical issues that we have had, and just share the results of the poll before we relaunch the room. The poll question was whether or not we could apply the lessons of South Korea, yes, no, or would we need to see significant structural reforms before we can? And overwhelmingly, over 70% of the over 200 guests that we had on the webinar said that we need to see the significant structural reforms before we can apply some of these lessons. But I think the formula is clear, the lessons are there. And what stood out for me, having a chat with Dave Wilson again last night, was the issue of human capital development and the role that each one of us in our spheres, in our organizations, as business leaders, as leaders inside NGO, academia, can play in mentoring the next generation of leaders and that human capital. So thank you very much for sharing that insight with us. I believe you've got a very busy day ahead of you, sending some South Korean citizens back on a flight later on this afternoon. So I wish you well, and I thank you very much for taking the time to share the South Korean model and a little bit more about the miracle on the hand with us. Take care.
Okay, can I have just last one quickly?
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much for you, our Mail and Guardian, to sponsoring this event with the National Mentorship Movement. You're doing a wonderful work, and I'm very privileged and honored to be here. And thank you also to Dale Wilson for being a good mentor, and we benefit a lot from our partnership. Also, thank you to Michael for great work, and Martin Davis, and hope you all the best.
Thank you very much, Dr. Park. And just a final word, if you want to get hold of the National Mentorship Movement, they're looking to develop 400 mentors in the next couple of months. Get on board, visit the mentorshipmovement.co.za website, or email Dave Wilson directly at dave.wilson@mentorshipmovement.co.za. Well, from me, Michael Avery, a big thank you to the Mail and Guardian and to Martin Davies as well as the National Mentorship Movement. We need to have more conversations like this, and sooner or later the message will rise up to the top. Thanks for the time, and goodbye.
Okay, thank you. Bye.